In Our Expert Opinion podcast is brought to you by Saunders Real Estate, the Southeast's leading land and commercial real estate firm, helping clients make bold and informed investment decisions since 1996.
Hello and welcome to another edition of In Our Expert Opinion podcast. My name is David Hill, and today's guest is a special one. This is an episode I've been looking forward to, and I'm excited about. I think you guys will be as well. We are going to be talking all thing ducks, duck conservation, habitat management, all of the above. Today's guest is esteemed Dr. Ryan Askren. He is the director of research, and I might have just butchered your job title there, but he is the director of research for Five Oaks, which is probably a duck club that most of you have heard about. If not, it's a legendary duck club in Southeast Arkansas. And excited to dive into this one. Ryan, welcome to the podcast, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, David.
Yeah. So for those of us who maybe have heard of Five Oaks, but are only really familiar with the reputation, tell us a little bit more. How would you describe it?
Yeah, so Five Oaks has been a duck hunting lodge. Mr. George Dunklin started it back, I think, 1983. So we've been in operation since 83, 41 years. He's really kind of positioned it, really focusing on the habitat, focusing on a really quality experience here. And because of that, with the help of Mr. Jody Pagan, one of kind of his key managers in all this, habitat managers and just expert on the habitat side, they've been able to keep this thing going 41 years. And I'm just fortunate to be a small part of that now. So I came in back in 2001, once they started a nonprofit research and education center. So looking into the future, understanding that, this property is providing an incredible resource for ducks and, supporting the continental population that we get to enjoy during winter here in Arkansas. And George was really looking for a way to ensure that's here in the long term, even after he's gone. So that's where they rolled it into this nonprofit research and education center to, put it under a board of directors controlled organization. So yeah, that's where I come in. That's
awesome, man. So, George Dunklin, I'm sure most people listening to this know, he's also the founder of Ducks Unlimited, right?
No, not founder. Ducks Unlimited's been around since the early 1900s. He past president of Ducks Unlimited, so he's been very involved with Ducks Unlimited, really as a volunteer through his whole time. He's still helps out on the policy side of things for them. So spends a little bit of time with their policy folks, a little bit of time in DC, working on, with the legislature to enact, bills and legislation that promote wetland conservation with Ducks Unlimited.
Cool. So was conservation always a part of Five Oaks DNA, or did that just evolve over time, or how did that go?
Absolutely. So George, and I don't want to tell too much of his biography, but I think I've got a good understanding of it. But grew up in Pine Bluff, really did not grow up on these properties. They were owned by his mother's family. But he went away, played tennis in college, at Memphis State, came back and wanted to farm. Grew up duck hunting with his father, really developed a passion for waterfowl and started developing the understanding of, the key importance of maintaining habitat for these ducks. So that was really, really the start of all of it. And then he came back and started farming a lot of this and started running the duck hunting operation. And then, just continued to kind of build it and not just preserve, but really enhance what they were working with. And going through a couple different, iterations, we're no longer doing any production rice farming, but he farmed rice for a long time. Putting some of the ground that was initially cleared for rice production back into Baumland hardwood forest, replanting oak trees on those. So it's been a neat cycle, but yeah, conservation's been a key part since kind of the onset of all this.
Yeah, very, very cool. And Ryan was gracious enough to write a little piece in our Lay of the Land Arkansas market report this year. So if anyone listening has received that, it's towards the beginning of the book. There's a really neat article in there. So go check that out. But man, so what does your day-to-day look like in terms of how you fit into the whole operation?
Yeah, it's a little all over the place. Kind of some diverse duties in this role. So I come from a movement ecology background. I'm a duck nerd. I've got my master's studying white-fronted goose migration and habitat selection, putting transmitters on them up in Canada and Alaska, following them down here. Then I went for my doctorate up in Illinois, understanding Canada goose movements. Really, that project was funded with risk to air traffic, especially around Midway International Airport, but got to ask a lot of neat kind of ecological evolutionary theory questions on why these Canada geese are doing the things they do. So really, my studies have been focused on how the habitat and the landscape influences waterfowl behavior and movements around, and we use that kind of from the bird lens to understand how we can improve habitat and what they need on the landscape to be successful and ensure that we have them coming back here long into the future. So here, I'm still involved a little bit on the research side. We do have a partnership with the University of Arkansas Monticello. Dr. Osborne there does a lot of great waterfowl research. So we're doing some projects on our own here, specifically kind of Bomland hardwood forest projects, doing some seedling growth studies, trying to do some adaptive management, really understanding how our actions are influencing the habitat, and then the ducks. But then I'm involved a lot with Dr. Doug and his master's students. They're on campus, still in a couple of transmitter kind of movement ecology projects, one working to understand kind of the fine scale forest characteristics, so how the forests are shaped and how that influences where mallards are using them. So McKinsey's heading up that project, involved on another one that's looking at some broader scale spring migration questions, everything from stopover location up to the prairies and kind of factors influencing hens before they start nesting. Yeah, so a little bit of research, a little bit of education. We have a graduate certificate program, so I have 4 students that live here on property that I work with throughout the school year, and then they have the option to stay on for an internship the following summer. I also work a lot with them. We're really in kind of a grant seeking phase, trying to figure out how to keep this moving. Research, the management, all of that takes a lot of money. So trying to, basically market the work we're doing, demonstrate the utility of not just the research that we're doing, but also the conservation, the land, management improvement, how that's beneficial, and trying to work with partners to, help them meet their goals as well. So a lot of grant writing as of late, more and more development in that arena. Yeah, get to mess around with drones some. I'm a certified aerial applicator. So yeah, we got sprayer drones. We're doing some survey work with drones, some of that forest mapping stuff. And yeah, I basically, this is my dream job. I get to do all the fun stuff. I get to be involved in the management. I'm definitely not overseeing that, not responsible, but get to do the cool research, kind of figure out what direction I want to go with that, as well as working with young people and working on developing them. So yeah, lots of fun like stuff
right there. You're living it.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you get to hunt quite a bit too during season.
Right? I do.
I'm interested
guide
to know what your duck call lanyard looks like. I'm sure it's full of jewelry.
It's not. I tell everybody when you're the one putting on the bands, they mean a little different.
I was wondering. I was gonna be my next question. Is it?
Yeah. So I don't get too worked up. I love to share that experience. I love to share if somebody, if we shoot a band and it's somebody's first band, like that's really incredible. But I have the worst band luck of anybody that I've maybe ever met. Like, I know my first year in Arkansas, I think I saw 6 or 7 bands killed, and it wasn't that I didn't win the draw. It's like I knew I did not pull the trigger on that bird on any of them. And it's hard to.
Those ducks see you and they're like, stay away from that.
I guess so. But no, I've been very fortunate. I grew up in the Midwest in Iowa and had a family that really kind of supported my hunting outdoor passion, helped me get into photography, waterfowl hunting, and so I've gotten lots of great experiences and been fortunate to hunt some cool places. And that's why I'm here. I mean, that's why most of us are here. A lot of people think that, Fish and Wildlife Service and these people saying regulations and doing this research, or I don't know, in some behind some wall or some ivory tower. We're all bird people. We're all duck hunters.
Yep.
We're here because we love them. And that's how it started for most of us. So.
That's cool, man. Well, in terms of like Five Oaks, the lodge, most people have heard about it, right? I've never been. I dream of going, and I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat. But I mean, what is it about the land that makes it so attractive and such a productive duck hunting spot?
Yeah, it's really got to attribute all to George and Jody and how they set it up. We're really fortunate. We're just east of Biomeda, so obviously we have an incredible state hunting area there. Their refuges, Hollowell and Rape Plantation, hold a lot of ducks. We have some incredible neighbors. Kingdom come across the street from us has a great reservoir that holds a lot of bird, Hamptons. But really, we've focused here on Five Oaks on moist soil management, on really thinking about maintaining the health of our greentree reservoirs, through water management. How we hunt them is another big thing. So we leave about 70% of the property in sanctuary, never go in and hunt it, try to reduce any sort of disturbance. So try to stay out of it unless we've got a management reason to be in there. And we're fortunate that we've got a great group of clients. A lot of those people have been hunting with Mr. George since he started. So we've got a couple of groups, or still have some of the original members of those groups, which is really neat. And because of that, we don't have to put a lot of pressure on the birds. We're able to be pretty smart about where and when we hunt, and get in and get out. We don't hunt past 9 o'clock. So yeah, that's really kind of been the key, along with that moist soil management, managing all the vegetation that ducks eat naturally. We plant some hot crops, a little bit of rice and millet around here, but really, at least since I've been here, we've been very, very kind of heavily weighted towards moist soil, and I think that's a huge factor of why we have ducks all through season. Not, we'd rather have 5,000 ducks all season than 50,000 ducks for 5 days. Yeah,
no, that's a great way to look at it. In terms of the green forest management, man, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I know that's a pretty hot topic.
Yep. Yeah, and that's really one of the main reasons our research center started, because there are a bunch of questions that are still ongoing that we need to understand better. But green tree reservoirs, for those that don't know, were these areas of bottomland hardwood forests that were levied off and pounded. Originally, that was for rice agriculture. They figured out pretty quick that the ducks love them, really flock to them. So instead of we would have had all these bottomland hardwood forests. The majority of the Delta was bottomland hardwood forests back before agriculture. European settlement came in, and these rivers would have flooded up into those forests and just, allowed ducks to kind of capitalize during those flood periods. But they were probably pretty flashy. So those rivers might have bounced out for a week or two, and then they would have kind of been back into the banks.
They weren't intended to stay flooded for that long.
Yeah, exactly. And they would have had sheet flow across them, so they would have had water flowing, current, all sorts of other factors. Now, with green tree reservoirs, we have this consistent water, so we can artificially pump them up, obviously. And because of that, we've got consistent habitat for the ducks. However, that also has some negative effects on the tree health and forest health. So we're just reading through some old papers that talk about flooding from September all the way through April, back in like the 40s, 50s, and some of these early GTRs. But even then, they start talking about the trees dying off, and the different factors that are probably attributing to that. that's we've seen Hurricane WMA was one of the big ones that really opened eyes to the problem most recently. Again, like I said, we've known it's an issue for a while, but Hurricane had a massive die-off, and I don't remember how many hundreds of acres, but I think it was a couple hundred of acres of bottomland hardwood forests that were just completely killed, due largely less so to GTR management and more so to changes in hydrology. So not only are we levying off these forests and artificially flooding them, we've also just have massively kind of messed up hydrology across the delta to where we've channelized all these rivers and bayous down into little canals. We're draining the landscape faster. We don't have the wetlands that would have been there to hold water and slowly release, or hold water to allow it to kind of recharge the aquifers. It's just all going off into these bayous and rivers. And because of that, we're seeing higher intensity and longer duration of flood events. And that's really been a huge problem. Yeah.
So what's the mitigation for that? What's the reconciling factor?
I mean, that's the problem is we don't have a lot of them. I mean, there aren't a lot of landowners that have more than one. In an ideal world, we'd leave them dry some years. That's obviously going to take away people's ability to hunt. Game and Fish is doing a great job trying to get ahead of it. But setting up their GTRs so it's more of a flow-through design. So there is more kind of sheet flow through there. They're allowing more kind of natural flooding of those areas to mimic the hydrology. That hopefully will have some effects. The other is cutting trees. And that, that's not just related to the flooding, but these red oak species really need open canopies to regenerate. And right now we've got a lot of forests that have a lot of old sick trees and not a lot of new regeneration. So we're really looking at, and we did a demonstration cut back here with the help of Sitka, a grant from them to really show and then do research on seedling survival, growth rates, and those kind of things related to water levels and light regimes, so openness of those canopies. But yeah, that's a tough one. There are some design considerations. Not using well water is a big one. Having abundant surface water whenever you can to flood. We don't have a lot of good data on that yet, but that definitely seems to have a greater detriment when you're using groundwater to flood them. Then yeah, not flooding till November, December. Earlier flooding, not flooding it all the way up, not flooding it to where you can run your boat in, but just putting water on maybe some of those lower areas, sloughs that naturally would have had water on them, instead of flooding them all the way up to, say, like your willow, cherry bark ridges, the kind of higher sites within those GTRs.
Okay. You mentioned WMAs a few minutes ago. Many of our listeners, spend their seasons hunting public land. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I mean, do you think WMAs are being managed in a way that supports long-term habitat health and also hunter success? Those two things may or may not work against each other at times, but I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, and that's a tough one. The answer is yeah. I think Game and Fish is absolutely moving in the right direction on those things. I know there's a lot of people upset. But we stand to lose it all, and it's not just it's could be lifetimes. Could be lifetimes that we lose it if we mess it up. And given kind of some of the changes in the landscape down here, otherwise in terms of agriculture, that's some of what we touched on a little bit in that manuscript. We're seeing a little bit of a shift of mallards northward. So a few, I think it's 1.5 degrees. There was a great paper that came out in Mizzou using long-term band recovery to talk about that. And a lot of people want to blame everybody else, but I'm a big believer in push, not pull. So I'm a big believer in when we've seen the shift of white fronts, of snow geese, of some of these duck species, when we see shifts, it's usually because we've lost habitat. We've done things where they've been to basically force them to move to other areas. And oftentimes they find great resources in some of those other areas. So yeah, if we're mismanaging, then that could contribute to that shift. But yeah, overall, and I'm not very far removed from a public land hunter. I think I only hunted public land one day last year, but grew up hunting public land, was public land hunter my whole time as a master's student, even when I first came back here. So I understand the concerns. I mean, that's the biggest issue, in my opinion, is we don't have enough public land, that we need more quality areas for people to go, and spread out the pressure on the managers to where they're able to kind of do some of the things they need to recover those forests and recover the habitat.
Yep. Yeah, I figured you'd have a thought on that, because there is frustration with public land hunters. I mean, and all those things contribute to that. But I think something you hit on that I think is really important is just the sustainability piece of this. A couple of, not so great duck seasons are worth it if that means that our kids and their kids are able to enjoy what we've grown to love,
Yeah, and I'll say I understand why folks are upset. It's been a tough couple of years. It sounds like this year is not going to be a whole lot better, and it's not, it's not just management down here. It's continental wide issues with waterfowl populations, and I'm a firm believer in habitat. I think that's the number one driver of everything we're seeing in terms of hunter success, in terms of duck numbers, and honestly, right now, I feel like we're losing. I mean, the prairies are really suffering. Canada's prairies are just still kind of being ravaged. So even when we have some of these late rains like we've had this year, with a weak farm bill and not a lot of conservation programs up there, not as many as we maybe used to have back in the heyday, there's not the grassland that these ducks need to make it. And so that's my biggest concern is, I understand, I've had some rough days, rough seasons too. I understand the frustration there, but I think we need to be cognizant of these birds move all up and down the continent. It's not just here. And there's a lot of negatives that we need to be talking about and working with Congress to try to fix.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your opinion, and maybe this is an opinion, maybe there's fact, but is it what are you seeing in terms of duck population, or is it a migration timing issue, or are they changing their migratory path?
That's a tough one. And that's some of my work's been, related to shifting in distribution and kind of migratory distribution. We know winter weather severity is the number one driver of kind of hunter success and how many ducks people are shooting. So absolutely, depending on the weather, we see changes in that migration. How much of that's just kind of natural variation from year to year versus a directional shift.
Yeah.
Is hard to say. But that's certainly part of it, and something we're kind of looking into, thinking about a couple of projects associated with that. But the population's down. I mean, the population is a fraction of what it used to be. That's not to say that's all unnatural. We know there should be kind of waves in the population. So those prairies are kind of boom or bust. We know in really wet years they're incredible. But one of the big drivers is that wetting drying cycle is really important for the nutrient cycling and for the food that ducks need up there. So that's one of the things. And I really urge anybody who gets the chance to go up to the prairies, especially in the spring, and meet with anybody from Ducks Limited, Delta Waterfowl, to really understand the dynamics up there. But these dry years are important for the nutrient cycling, and then when we get a wet year, there's a lot more invertebrates produced in those wetlands. There's a lot more of these shallowly flooded, and that's really what's driving the success of those hens and of brood survival. So I'm not saying it's everything's bad and doom and gloom because we're at a low population right now. Some of that's natural, but we're definitely at a low point. There's no doubt in that.
And then in terms of government intervention, which you alluded to a minute ago, what does that look like ideally?
A strong farm bill. I don't want to cast stones. I grew up in corn country in the Midwest, but ethanol, ever since the ethanol boom in 2008, we've just lost millions of acres of grassland that ducks need, that all sorts of grassland nesting songbirds need. And that's really where we've seen the crash. And it's, we've had major habitat loss in the past, and we've lost a lot of species. And one of the other things we get hung up on kind of harvest management a lot. And I think it's important to understand those dynamics and how hunting influences populations. But we have so many other species outside of game birds that we've lost, and their populations have crashed without any hunting, without the gun taking them out. And it's all driven by habitat. So that's where I'm going to focus my energy.
Yeah. Good. Those are great insights, man. Thanks for sharing that. So I was going to ask you what the biggest threat to long-term duck conservation is.
Yeah. Getting ahead of ourselves already.
I think you just answered that one.
Yeah. Well, that's, I'll talk a little bit about the importance of the wintering grounds, because that's what I'm passionate about. That's where I'm at. That's why we're here. So one, the wintering grounds are important for the population. So there's been some great research. I think it was Mitch Wiegman and his lab produced a paper that really tied winter flooding to population productivity up on the breeding grounds. So when we have a lot of water down here, when we have a lot of habitat, ducks do better. And that's because of something we call cross-seasonal effects or carryover effects, which basically means that when we're sending ducks out of the south in better condition, they're getting to the breeding grounds in better condition and able to maintain that and have better nest success, produce more babies, do all those great things. So that's really key, and why what we're doing here on the wintering grounds is important, as well as ensuring that, these distributions don't shift so much that the economies and the culture and the people that rely on, duck hunting like we have here in Arkansas, that we don't lose that. And we really haven't seen that with ducks yet, but we have seen that with geese, where the Canada geese have shifted further north and further north. We've seen a lot of the snow geese and white-fronted geese shift out of Texas to Louisiana and now to Arkansas. So that does occur, and that's something we want to care about. But yeah, down here we've seen huge changes, and even I feel like since I've been an Arkansas resident, we've been seeing changes. Last couple of years around here, it's been really alarming at how many people are working fields as soon as they're done harvesting. I mean, we're cutting rice first week of August in some cases, and that just means there's no waste rice left for birds. For waterfowl once they get there. The blackbirds have hit it, it's decomposed, rotted, or resprouted. And that's part of why Arkansas has been so great for mallards, is because of the relationship with rice agriculture. And I'm really concerned about how those changes could impact waterfowl, and hopefully we can find solutions to kind of improve the working landscape, or work within the agricultural landscape to provide some good quality habitat for them.
Yeah. Man, that's such a it's such a catch-22 in my opinion, because as we progress technologically on the ag front and things get more efficient and optimized, it has ripple effects. So what do we do about that? I mean, I don't know that it's going to be an easy fix just to tell farmers, hey, you got to leave some money out in the field. What do you do about that?
Yeah, that's where I'd love to see a strong farm bill that has good conservation programs to incentivize to pay farmers to leave some of that, either land out of production and manage in moist soil. Something we'd really love to see is more programs working to pay farmers to do that. Would benefit them greatly from a waterfowl standpoint. We actually have a study going on right now to look at the soil health benefits of that. As well, just to take ground out of production for a year or two to hopefully kind of rebuild those soils, rebuild the organic matter and carbon in those, and then the benefit to them and the waterfowl hunting. So yeah, I think that's the biggest one. I absolutely, I don't fault farmers for it. I understand they need to make a dollar, and it's been really, really rough couple of years. So they're doing their best to be as efficient as possible. But yeah, if we can work on farm bill programs that do a better job of incentivizing some of these practices, and hopefully, these nonprofit organizations like ourselves, like Ducks Unlimited or Delta, can help take the charge and actually get those implemented. Make sure that happens on the landscape.
Yeah, good deal, man. That's good stuff. Shifting gears a little bit to, some private landowners who might want to be improving their property for duck habitat. Maybe not these large scale farmers, but maybe someone who owns smaller acreage. What would you say to a private landowner like that who's wanting to improve their duck habitat? What are some things that they can do that they're not going to have to break their back to do, but just some subtle things to improve the habitat?
Yeah, I mean, moist soil management is a big one. It's really pretty cheap, pretty easy. Just ensuring you're having kind of slower drawdowns, and you really need kind of the control structures to do that. Stop log structures really work the best. Screw gate, you can't really control. You can control how quickly the water drains, but you don't have the same level of control. Stop boards. But yeah, any wet area that is tough to farm, is tough to do things with. Those are kind of the ideal areas. If you aren't able to get it draw down, really, I'd say kind of end of June would be the very latest. But I think Jody's is the first week of June. Thinking about planting some millet, something like golden millet or Japanese millet. A lot of times, if you're not spraying those heavily, you still get some natural seed producers that come up among that. So you've got a little bit of diversity, not just that hot food, but we've had a lot of success with golden millet. I mean, produces a huge number of calories, lots of energy for ducks, and they like it. They like it a lot, and it's easy. We've been seeding it a little bit with the drone even, as late as, I need to go back and check my records, but into August, and I think even September at our latitude, we were able to get some that was headed out and made a hard seed by the first frost last year. Okay. So it's pretty fast grown and produces a lot of food. Yeah. So yeah, those are the biggest ones. I guess more generally, we know waterfowl depend on complexes. Like, you can't manage for them just on 200 acres. It's kind of like deer hunting or turkey that we talk about all the time. So working with your neighbors, I mean, collaborating when there's good habitat in a neighborhood, there's going to be a lot more ducks. So anytime you can help your neighbor, you're really helping yourself too, to encourage ducks to just be in that region, be able to use that complex of habitat instead of just one property.
It's good. What about for those of us who maybe don't own land or do own land that doesn't hold ducks, but we're still passionate about, the future of duck hunting, which is something for myself that I love to do. So people in my boat, like, what can we do to help?
Yeah, buy duck stamps. That's one of the best, most efficient ways to fund wetland conservation in this country. It's a really incredible program that was set up by hunters. Won't get into politics, but I really think that's one of the best government programs we have for conservation. So that's the biggest one. Buy a couple of them. Support places like Ducks Unlimited. Groups that are focused on habitat conservation and putting it back on the ground to ensure that we've got waterfowl populations long into the future. Those are the biggest. Cool.
Easy enough, man. Well, what are some of this conversation has been a little bit doom and gloom. So I do want to wrap it up on a high note. What are some things that you're most optimistic about right now in terms of just the future of our habitat?
I'm optimistic. We've got a lot of great minds that care about these resources, that are fighting for them. I think there's a lot of good push right now for sound research and informing some of that management. Down the road, I'm optimistic that some of these kind of government programs will turn around, that we will see not just the wildlife benefit, but the kind of social and economic benefit of ensuring we've got natural places that are managed for wildlife, that biodiversity. And ducks are robust. That's one of the things that I always kind of go back to. Mallards are one of the biggest generalists species in the waterfowl world. So I love them, and I'm worried about them. But really, they're probably the ones we need to be the worst worried about, because they're the most adaptable. And they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back if we get good rains. If we haven't lost permanent permanent large tracts of habitat up on the breeding grounds, and they'll be back. I just hope that we get those rains and we get the weather patterns that facilitate that sooner rather than later, because I love seeing them. I love hunting them. So yeah, that's what I'm optimistic about. I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but I also want to be real.
Yeah, no, I'm really thankful for people like you that are, one, just so educated, but two, so devoted to it, because there's a lot of us out here that genuinely are passionate and love to duck hunt. But you've probably forgotten more about all this than I'll ever learn in a lifetime. And I'm sure a lot of people could say the same thing. So, man, I've learned a ton just in this, 30-minute conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. I think a lot of others will think the same. But where can we, and any of the listeners who are interested in just learning more about you, or where can we get connected with you specifically, as well as Five Oaks? Yeah.
And I need to do better about being social and having a presence on social media platforms.
Instagram, man, you got some cool stuff on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Ryan is also a photographer who took the photo of the cover page of the Arkansas Lay of the Land Market Report. So I'm sure people would want to check that out too. So would love for you to tell us.
On Instagram, you can find me through my name, and then Five Oaks, you'll find us on Instagram. Our website is 5-oaks, so the number 5-oaks.com will get you there, and there's lots of great links and resources that we try to keep updated on there. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me directly. Just our Askren at 5-oaks is my email, but always happy to chat with people, especially out here in the Delta. So
awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming on, Ryan. It was a pleasure, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks so much, David.
Thank you for listening to In Our Expert Opinion Real Estate Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss any of our upcoming episodes. For more on land and commercial real estate, please connect with us at saundersrealestate.com.